Just the stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morgan, coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. And Eugene, have some blasphemous conversation taking place in Pittsburgh. From what I'm hearing is there are rumblings of getting Mike Tomlin out of here. You see the talking heads, they're like, it's been long enough. And when I hear people say long enough, I'm thinking like, what has been long enough? Winning? Has winning been long enough? Have you been winning so much that you just, man, I just can't take it anymore?
I hate winning.
Let me just get a coach in here who's not going to win these games. It's interesting because somebody said, and when I was on a different show, and this is what a lot of people who say about Mike Tomlin that are, on him. He can't win the big game, they say.
Okay.
They say, oh, he wins, but has he won a Super Bowl, which he has? But yes, I get your like, hey, he hasn't won one anytime soon. But why just Mike Tomlin? Then there needs to be 31 coaches on the hot seat then, because only one of those coaches are going to win the Super Bowl on any given year. So anybody that has the Super Bowl or bust talk, Eugene, which you hear a lot of that with Mike Tomlin, because there's almost nothing else you could talk about with the guy. You can't talk about anything else. He's winning games. So unless you want to get on the fact that he hasn't won the big game lately, I don't know what else you would get on. And this year he won 10 games. What do you think it is? What is there any legitimate reason in your opinion? Let's just go there first. Is there any legitimate reason that his seat should be hot? Maybe how they looked, maybe the fact they lost. If I'm going to be a well-rounded defender of Tomlin, I got to bring up the negative stuff too. And losing the last 4 or 5 games of the season is not a good look for any coach. When you're rattling off losses like that in a row to division leaders, it's not a good look. But those teams are also better than you. And in my opinion, you weren't as good as those teams. And this is where I don't like really kind of what the fan base is going with here. But before I go into that separate rant, what are your initial thoughts on this when you've been hearing this? Have you been hearing this same thing?
I have, and it was just like I don't understand it, because how many times do we wake up to Black Monday of coaches being fired, and you see this coach who consistently wins. Yes, okay, his playoff record isn't the best, but you give him a roster with whatever,
give him a quarterback and a wide receiver,
give him a quarterback
who can stay out there consistently.
Right. I mean, just give him a quarterback. I mean, look what he's like. You gave him washed Russell Wilson. You gave him Justin Fields, and I think we all figured out Justin Fields is a backup. Full stop. I mean, and it's nothing in here. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
He has time too. Eugene, you saw what happened with Geno Smith. He has. Yeah. Justin still has some time,
right? Maybe he has some time.
We'll see him there.
Absolutely. We see. Maybe he has a renaissance, like you said, Geno Smith. Maybe he has that renaissance, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. We've seen it come down that. But right now, to this point, right now, Justin's a backup, and it's fine, and that's what he is. But and I get it. It's like, and like you're saying, it's not like he's losing to, just under pathetic teams.
2 of those losses were to the Ravens.
The Ravens, who are
a pretty good team.
Everyone's a pretty good team, and are between them, Kansas City and Buffalo are Super Bowl favorites. So I just don't understand, because if you have a coach that's like this and he just consistently wins, and all thing and just what he's the coach, like, he does less with more. And it's so rare to find that nowadays. And if you gave him just a quarterback, because let's face it, Tomlin's going to take care of the defense. You're never going to have to worry about the defensive side of the ball. But if you want him to win the offensive side, you got to give the guy a quarterback. And you haven't, and since Ben's left, you have not helped him out in that. But again, so you haven't helped him out, but he's helped your franchise out by winning. He's not had a losing season ever. And you could be, and that's the thing. Unless you want to bring somebody in and just have that losing record and get like the number 1 draft pick to get a quarterback, Tomlin's not going to do that. He's going to keep grinding out there, and that's impressive, especially this day and age with salary cap and whatever that happens with in football, for him to keep consistently just year after year after year. And like I said, here's the thing: who wouldn't take that resume? What franchise that doesn't have a Super Bowl? You think? You think Cleveland would love that?
That's
Right?
true.
You think Cleveland would, right?
See,
Cleveland.
the same division.
We would love
too.
that, right?
Cleveland's looking over there like, man, that's looks good to us. Whatever
Right.
y'all have going on over there.
Right. Yeah. So
I think that it does. I think Cleveland. Basically, if you're looking over there, and not just Cleveland, in my opinion, if you have a player, because this doesn't just go for coaches, Eugene, but if you have a player or a coach on your team that if you let walk out there tomorrow, they would get a phone call before they even left the facility. People are on your phone calling them that person. Then you have something there that you might want to think hard about letting walk out the door. Because I'm pretty sure this is what the reality would be for Mike Tomlin. If Mike Tomlin was to leave Pittsburgh, about 15 jobs. I would say it's a little bit less than half in the NFL. But about 15 jobs that are in jeopardy. Somebody's going to be losing their job, or their job is going to instantly get a lot hotter if Mike Tomlin becomes available. And that's the kind of situation where that you at least have an asset of some sort. When Peyton Manning left the Colts back in the day, I remember talking to a friend, and I told him, man, somebody's losing their job. As soon as Peyton becomes available, somebody on the team somewhere is instantly just lost their job. And that would be the same thing that would happen with Mike Tomlin. If Mike Tomlin became available, somebody somewhere would probably lose their job. It might have happened to Mayo in New England with Vrabel being available. If Vrabel wasn't available, maybe Mayo sticks it out there another year in New England. But sometimes it's who's available. And believe me, if you're a coach, you don't want Mike Tomlin out there available.
No. What? No. You could throw him in anywhere, and he's going to turn it to a competitive team. That's the thing. It's like we all want Super Bowl. So he's produced the Super Bowl already. But you can't just
one that he's produced is more than the Falcons have in their entire history, by the way.
And you can look down the history of a lot of NFL teams, right? We're not the only team. You can see a lot of teams that would love to be in that position. The Cardinals,
you look at his record. He's 183 and 107. Okay, he's 63%. He won for his entire life. The man has won 63% of the games he's ever played. He's ever coached in his entire life. 63%.
Right. And there you have again. And here's a good thing. So I know it's quarterback versus coach, but still, you have Eli getting into the Hall of Fame, basically being a 500 quarterback. He's going to get in because he won 2 Super Bowls and beat Tom Brady. Right. So I see that argument. Sure. But Tom, like you just 63% of the games he's winning.
63%, bro.
So you're going into every Sunday going, we have a 63% chance of winning versus so many teams that don't even. Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I understand it. It's good for content. It's good. Hey, it's a good Monday morning conversation. But that if I just have that stability, if I'm owner, I'm like, cool. I get this coach. Maybe I get him just a better quarterback, some more weapons. He's going to get me to that promised land because he has done that. But if not, maybe we just have to ride the wave through just free agency, salary cap. Cool. At least we're riding that wave. Tomlin is still going to make me produce me a good team on the field. Because that's the thing. He's giving you something to watch. It's not like he's not winning these above 100 records with just bad teams to watch. Like yes, if you don't like just competitive run the ball defensive games, yes, you're not gonna like the Steelers because that's what his teams is. And it's crazy. It's like look at how the scoring has increased through the years, how it's become a more offensive friendly game, and he's still been kind of
still
that
out here, still consistent,
still
guy,
out there,
man.
Still doing kind of his, hey, give me what you got. I'm gonna make it work. Cool. I don't have starting quarterbacks. whatever. Give me what you got. I'm still gonna go win you 9-10 games. I don't know. Why replace that? What do you, again? Like you had a great point. What am I replacing it with? And if I let him go,
not the same
if
guy.
right, not the same guy. And of course, you let him go. He's got a job. Who's not
He's only
hiring
52,
him?
bro. He's a 52
Right,
year old.
exactly.
Guy's 52 years old, man. He can
He's
coach
not like
for 10. He can
right.
coach for another decade and still be 10 years younger than Pete Carroll.
Right. He's not Carroll. He's not Belichick. Right.
He can coach for
He's
another 10
only
years and be 10 years younger than Belichick.
right. Again, so I mean, I know you die Steelers, and that's great, but I just from the outside looking in, I mean, I respect the guy. I mean, I'm not a big Steelers fan, but I mean, I just when I saw that, I'm like, here on that, it's like I always go with who are you putting in the seat? Because I don't think they would do any. I don't think who you putting there would do anything different, and with the same roster. That's the thing.
That is
Mike Vrabel would be the only person I could think that could be. But again, he's producing the same thing that Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Mike Vrabel will be the same style, same kind of style.
Exactly.
And when you think about what Tomlin has done, another thing I failed to mention, which I do hope it comes up on these other shows when I do them, is not only so he's coached for 18 years. Not only does he have a 63% win record, 11 out of those 18 years he has double-digit wins. He has double-digit wins in 11 out of the 18. Those double-digit wins are scattered throughout his career. They're not like 6-7 double-digit wins at the beginning of his career. He had them this year. He had double-digit wins this past year. So when you look at his double-digit wins, he has them late in his career. He has them throughout the middle of his career. He has them through the beginning of his career. He is a winning quarterback throughout. Well, winning coach, I should say, throughout. But the problem is a lot of the fan base that say stuff like, "Oh, well, we're tired. We just want to get to a Super Bowl. We don't like the way the team's performing." Well, it's not his fault that you guys did not go get another receiver. Like you guys I told my Pittsburgh Steelers friends coming out of the draft that I really wish we had a receiver. And I said, we still just have George Pickens, and our offense is just not that good. And when you look around at the NFL, you look around at the Eagles of the world, these teams with these two number one quarterbacks, you pretty much got 2 ones on your team. It's an arms race, and you are going to need a Patrick Mahomes type quarterback to compete with that. And if you don't have receivers, you need a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You don't have any of those guys back there at the quarterback position. So it's the arrogance of a fan base to say winning every season or never losing is just not enough. The absolute arrogance of fan base to say, well, we're just since we haven't got to this one game, none of these other games ever matter. But when you look around at some of these other teams that are praying, they wish they could get a scintilla of that Pittsburgh Steelers success that they consistently have. So it's delusional fans feeling like somehow you replace Mike Tomlin and you guys are now a winning franchise. You saw what happened with the Jets. I'm not a huge Robert Saleh fan, but they got rid of Robert Saleh and their team got worse. You did is make 2 sides of the ball terrible now. Now your offense and your defense sucks. Is that what that's what happened with the Jets? You didn't have a Robert Saleh just sitting out defense. There. So I don't. You guys. The thing is, the team is just not good. If you're telling me that it's Super Bowl or success, you should have took it in the very beginning of the season with the and you know how much I love the Steelers. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. We were never good enough to win the Super Bowl this year. And if you feel like us replacing Mike Tomlin, who somehow got 10 wins out of this team, is somehow the problem. And now that we replace Mike Tomlin, now we do have a Lamar Jackson type quarterback. No, we don't. We replace Mike Tomlin. Now we do have that second receiver that we're desperately going to need. No, we don't. Yeah. So these are things that you're going to have to address, and they have nothing to do with the coach. In my opinion, for people calling for his job, it's absolutely ridiculous. All you can do is just win, and it's still not enough for some people. Let's talk a little bit about our boy Mike McCarthy.
One last point on this. The good thing is, so you're talking about the second receiver. So when Pickens went out injured, so what do you have to do? You have to rely on your defense more too. So what does it do? It wears them down. And so what happens is they're in the field longer, and they're by the time the playoffs, they're just worn out. and that you saw that in the Ravens game. So I'm sorry, I just had to like just add another point. It's like just look what you have, be thankful for it, and look what the other teams have around and what they wish they would it would be in your
Right.
shoes.
There's teams licking their chops, hoping that the Steelers are stupid enough to pull this move so they
Right,
could just
right.
jump in and do it.
Sorry, I had to
Um,
bring the last point up.
there's no issue there. And we're going to talk briefly about McCarthy here. I'm not a huge Mike McCarthy fan, but McCarthy also is not as terrible as people think he is. He's a quarterback. He's a
No.
coach himself. Has won 60% of his games. 174 and 112. His record in Dallas. Let me see. He was there for 5 years, so Jerry gave him some rope there. And he was 84 and 49 there. Had a 58% winning record there. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, you can do worse than that.
No.
You can do worse than that. My bad. He was 49 and 35. My bad. 58%, 49 and 35. 174 and 112 on this totality, and 49 and 35 coaching in Dallas for the 5 years. 3 of those years, very first year losing. So it's bookended by losing years. So a 6 and 10 year, then a 12 and 5, 12 and 5, 12 and 5, 7 and 10. I'm not really a huge fan of when if I have 4 or 5 great years and I have one bad, now you're going to decide to fire me.
Right.
If you're Mike McCarthy, you should be happy. I mean, Dallas, this is not a great job, in my opinion, right now because of the contractual obligations to players that are injured and to the future contractual obligations you're going to have for players that need to be paid, like a Micah Parsons. It doesn't look super attractive to me personally, but what I know, not a coach, but it doesn't look attractive to me as a job. What are your thoughts here on the whole Mike McCarthy?
I'm right there with you. I'm not a huge McCarthy fan, but he's a coach that can come in if you have talent. He can coach talent. He's the opposite of Tomlin, right? You're not getting squeezing turnips for whatever, you're not squeezing what Tomlin does in Pittsburgh like he does. But he can come in and he can be like, look, he identifies talent, he can coach talent, and because we've seen coaches that do that get talent and just don't know what to do with it. McCarthy knows what to do. You give him a talent roster and he's going to produce. So, again, I don't know with this. Like, again, I don't know with their roster. They have so many question marks. They've got a talent.
Is this a good job to you? Like, what do you think about the Cowboys' job in general?
I mean, so it's almost what you said about the wide receivers with Pittsburgh. They need a running back. They need running backs. Let's just say.
Yeah, and they have the same problem at wide receiver too, because they have
a number one.
You're gonna need you need another person. You're gonna need a 2. The running back, I like what Rico Dowdle's doing. I'm not.
He did a great job
there, but NFL is kind of showing us you want a couple guys at that position, and you have one guy at that position. You got one. It's kind of thin at the skill slots, right? Skill positions kind of thin.
Yeah.
Ferguson there, the tight end position.
Got a good defense. So but you have Jerry. And that's the thing. You have GM Jerry who thinks he knows everything, and that's an issue. I mean, he refuses to let go. And don't be wrong, they've drafted talent. They have talent in that room, but it's just like pieces. Like it's like pieces that sometimes don't work together. And I think that's where they just don't. It's like they throw pieces at defense, they throw pieces at offense. It's like pick one. Where do you want to like sacrifice your defense for maybe 1 year and just go all out on your offensive side, or do you want to sacrifice on the offensive side? And they just haven't figured that piece out. Where do we want it? And also, obviously, injuries hasn't helped them. They've lost some of their key guys on defense, and obviously, we knew on the offensive side that they were going to shut down guys when the season was in limbo. But I don't know. This would be just one job. Of course, it's Texas, it's football, but I don't know if I would just would want this job right away. I mean, it's very good. At least you have a quarterback, right? Versus the Raiders, versus the Jaguars. I mean, who knows what Trevor Lawrence is going to be? That's still a question mark there. So you have, and at least Tennessee has the first pick, but This is not a strong draft, quarterback prospects coming out. So I don't know, man. You tell me what would you do? Would you take this spot? This
I
job?
mean, I feel like when somebody said this best when they said that there's only 32 of these jobs available, so there's always going to be somebody willing to take the money. And I think we need to separate somebody willing to take the money versus somebody just really wanting this job.
Yeah.
You'll always find somebody who's willing to take the money. Now, the job itself, I feel like if you are, because we will discuss it, Deion Sanders in a bit, but if you're, let's say that you're a highly sought after, let's say that you're a Ben Johnson, a guy that's going to come out of the Lions situation sought after. Let's say that you're a sought after guy. If I'm sought after, that's when I'm going to side eye this job at that point. If I'm a sought after and I have my choice and I can say, well, I have Jacksonville, right? You can go to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Bears, which is my favorite because
Bears would be good.
Rookie contract. Oh, yes, absolutely. A quarterback on a rookie contract is usually halfway there for me. Like if you have a quarterback and I find that quarterback is serviceable and he's on a rookie contract, that job is getting a lot better. So you have that there. Jets don't really have a quarterback. We don't really know the situation with the Jets, right?
Still limbo with there.
We don't know there. So I think the best jobs are the jobs that are settled somewhat at the quarterback position, in my opinion. Like the Bears and the Jaguars. Sorry, I just got a quick sneeze there. Bears and the Jaguars. Like those two teams. And I might be missing one in here. No, because the Raiders don't have a QB.
No,
right?
They don't. You're not missing.
Or a team that can go and is in a position to draft one, but I don't think those teams are getting new coaches because that's like what Tennessee and in Cleveland as we stand here now.
Right.
We'll see there's going to be some trades or something like that. So if I need to either be in a position to draft a QB or have a QB that's already there that either just signed a contract or is in first 1 or 2 years of a extended contract, so I know I at least got 2 or 3 years with this guy.
Right.
The Cowboys aren't in that situation. So the Cowboys situation depends on how much you like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, because those two players are owed about $400 million just by themselves. You got $300 to $400 million tied up in just two players, CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. So you have to really like those players. So what do you feel about Dak? You got to really go in there and like what Dak's doing. I mean, same thing with Trevor. Trevor's making a lot of money. You got to really like what Trevor's doing. At least Trevor's is playing, So you still got to like what he's doing. It's a lot of money that's committed there. So I don't think this job is as good as it could be, but it is one of 32. It is the Dallas Cowboys, one of the teams that Deion said that he would come to, one of the only teams that Deion said he would come to, which would be super interesting if he was to do so. What are your thoughts there on the Cowboys situation here? Deion up here.
Oh, Deion? Oh, there we go.
Deion and the Cowboys. Do we have a situation where Deion is actually going to go to the Cowboys? Let's start there, because I was skeptical, but it seems like it's picked up steam, and people are saying that it's an absolute possibility, which is just hilarious to me, by the way. Just hilarious.
It really is. I mean, as far as content, I want it to happen. As far as what we do weekly, I want this to happen so bad. And I'm not saying he wouldn't be good at it, but I just would love it. I would love to watch it. I would love to either he go here or go to the Raiders. I think it would be fascinating, because let's just say what he did at Colorado was pretty impressive. I mean, what that program was before he got there, the last couple of years, he hasn't turned into a national championship, but he's turned that team into respectable, right? They're like, you want to watch that team. So, but he keeps tying himself with his son. So I don't know how you would do that. I mean, they just gave Dak the contract. So you're not trading. You're not going to just wipe that money away just to bring in Deion's son, who
No, he wouldn't be. He had to get rid of, like, if you were to go to the Cowboys, which I hear is one of the only teams that he would go to without being attached to Shador, is you're kissing that goodbye. Like, you're kissing that goodbye.
Right. There's no way. There's no way. They've got their guy. This is Dak for however many years for that contract.
Well, he signed the contract extension in 2023.
Right. So he's not.
It was a 4-year.
Right. So basically 3, right? With the
So I would say at least through 26, 25 and 26.
25 and 26. So, I mean, I would just love it for just for my content. I mean, I don't just what he's done with Colorado. I just don't know how can you translate that to the NFL, because we've just seen so many college coaches. I'm not saying it'd be a failure, but how many college coaches that we see come and just don't work out and go right back to college. So I honestly don't know if it would work out.
I think we're all rooting for the spectacle of it. Like, we all want to see. We all want to see it happen. We all want to see it happen. And I don't necessarily think it has much to do with his coaching skills, in my opinion. And this is what I was talking about with Mike Tomlin, and I'm very consistent with this. If your contractual situation, if your players are playing a certain type of way, there's only so much coaching you can do. If they're injured, there's only so much coaching you can do. These situations, if Deion was to come here, he can't do the same thing he did with Colorado, where he brought a whole team with him.
Right.
Which is what he did. He came in, he brought a whole team with him to Colorado. Not going to bring a whole team here, and you got to deal with the salary cap restrictions, which you're going to have them for that team, especially
that team.
So it's kind of like, I think he's constricted by just life there. What NFL life is going to be for the Dallas Cowboys until they figure out some of these situations. Does Dak get healthy? If Dak doesn't get healthy, you're done anyway. So you're already done there. You got to hope Dak is healthy. You need Dak really playing next year if you're Deion. Good thing about Jerry Jones, Jerry doesn't fire coaches overnight. So I think Deion would have some rope here to operate before Jerry was just like, all right, you got to go. He tends to hang in there. So I think you'd have about 4 years if he was to get the job, 4 to 5 years to turn things around. And that also depends, because, Mike McCarthy was winning all those years. So, of course, you're not going to fire guys winning 12 games a year. So who knows if Mike was losing those games, if he would have stuck around all those years. But he's not a guy that fires coaches, though, overnight. He held on to Garrett for a while, too, when he was pretty much a coach.
He also owned the guys, so there's no issue with that. But I don't know. It's such a different beast. Like he like you said, he brought in a whole team with Colorado. So I don't see him doing that with the Cowboys. So I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I do think the respect level, people talk about the respect level, and I feel like that is absolutely on. You would definitely, a guy like Deion walks into a room, he is instantly going to have the respect. But it's a matter of, do you have enough to win games, though? Respect can only take you so far in the NFL.
Right.
You're going to have talent on the field that can actually translate this respect into W's for you. And that's where I feel like you kind of, do you have enough? You know what I mean? Do you have enough at that point? And I think the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of question marks, man. They have things that they have a team that they could be, and it's like right there, depending on how the injury situations work out, how some of these contract situations work out. They're right there. You have talent. I mean, there's some teams that have it worse than the Cowboys. It may be hard to believe some of the Cowboy haters out here, but the Cowboys have the problem of having talent in the building, but it's either injured, you gotta pay it. There's different things going on here. Kind of like where the 49ers when that started to rear its ugly head for them. Where you got guys, hey, you have an expensive team underperforming now, and that's what the Cowboys are. An expensive team that's going to be underperformed at least this year. So I think that's what he's got to make this job attractive is really a factor on Dak Prescott's health. I don't think they're moving off of him for people who say, hey, every contract is movable. And I think every contract is movable, but I just don't know why. Why would you move off of him? And get who? And if you're the other team, why would you take them at that price?
Right. exactly. And it's like, and then we go back to the same question: who are you replacing him with? Nobody's coming in that draft that looks remotely as. I mean, it's like
You got
you
to at
have
least
so
be
many
the
question
same as
marks.
him, or even at least approach his productivity. So that means if the
Right.
guy can give you 4,000 yards, you got to be able to get a guy out the draft. If you're gonna move off of him, that can at least give you 3,500, 35 to 3,800 themselves. You can't drop down to a guy then that's just barely giving you 3 out of the draft and going through growing pains. When you
Right.
paid all that
And
money
there's
to a guy.
so many question marks. It's not like last year's draft where you could see. It's this year's draft. It's like it's a lot like, oh well, if this, and this happens, I think it will work out. With Dak, you know what you got. You got a producing quarterback. I mean, yeah, you can throw the playoff records in my face. Yes, you can, but I know what I'm getting with Dak every time he's out there. I'm getting a competitive quarterback. I'm getting a guy who's going to give me a chance to win. I don't know what I'm getting in this draft. Yes, you can make that case for every draft, but this draft is like there's not a Caleb, there's not a Jason a Daniels, there's not a Drake May in this draft. So I would I would just stay with what I got, or then take a chance with with what do you think is in this draft right now?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be so quick to do that. If I'm the Cowboys, I don't think that you already got all that money out there. You're gonna have to pay Micah, so you're about to have a lot more money out there. You're gonna have about 400 to 500 million now tied up. When Micah gets his money, it's about 400 to 500 million in
Yes,
contracts for 3 guys. That's gonna be for three. That's for
right.
3 people. 3 people
3 people.
on a 53-person team. So it's yeah. Yeah. Yes, let that sit with you. That's why I don't think the job is the best job from that standpoint. But from a marketing standpoint, from a familiarity standpoint for Dion, I think they say that he has a relationship with Jerry Jones already. So that's why even one of the reasons he's considering this. I think it kind of sucks for Colorado. But it's a natural maturation process.
Right. I
For
mean, we
these
all didn't
coaches,
think he was staying at Colorado the rest of his life. We know, I mean, we all knew this
No,
was a
I
springboard for
thought
something
maybe a
else.
few years. The rest
Right.
of his life is a big. 'Cause I don't know if any of us are doing anything for the rest of our life, but it seems
Correct.
like 3 to 4 years, maybe a year after Shadur's gone. Yeah, it didn't seem like it was going to be 2 years and you're out of there type of situation. But I feel like most coaches would have been out there in this exact same situation. So this is that just kind of naturally how things tend to work out.
Yeah.
Not like he's doing anything out of the ordinary here.
No. And he looks at and how he built it back up. I mean, from what it was when he got there to now, I mean, it's impressive. He used the NIL, he used the transfer portal like it's supposed to be used, and he built the team. I mean, it was a national championship team, but they went to a bowl game this year. I mean, you got to be impressed with that. They went to a bowl game. He brought in. He has two guys that are definitely going to be drafted. They probably have some other guys on that team ready to get drafted in the NFL. So he did what he's supposed to do. He turned the program around.
Agreed. And I'm going to leave it there on this coaching edition here of Just the Stats. We'll be back here to discuss some football once the games are done. This is Just the Stats. Check us out: Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.